Greetings, nerds. This is SNN. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Paul. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing well, Sarah. It's been a couple weeks. Missed talking with you, but it's great to be back after a break and being recharged and ready to take on the rest of the Arrowverse as the season winds down and talk our new shows of Krypton and other things.
Yep.
Yep. Because cut right to the chase.
This episode is going to be delayed reactions because this is the latest I've recorded a podcast in a very long time, and it's not even that late for me. It's late for Will, but it feels late for me.
You're living vicariously through my time zone.
Always, all day. Yeah, and that other laughter you hear in the background is our guest host returning once again, Veronica Rose. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back.
We are glad to have you. We waited all night and now you're here. Hopefully you're going to drop some knowledge.
Darn that adulting stuff of having to work.
It sucks. I was so tired on Friday.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Has it only been, and then you worked all weekend too, as far as just, it's like, sent me a message like, I am in the middle of like XYZ projects and papers, and I was like, okay, I'll just talk to you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's they don't warn you about this stuff when you're growing up. Like all you want to do is be older, and then you are older, and you're just like, this sucks, legitimately.
Yeah, nobody tells you.
Yeah, everything sucks, and they even canceled that too. I wish they would cancel like all this work stuff.
Yeah,
I have to
like, can't they do that?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is one of the best puns you have ever dropped on Scene and Nerd, Will. I am so proud right now.
Thank you.
Like, seriously, that was genius. And before you say something stupid, we're going to talk about Arrow. All right.
You noticed? Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. They're fighting each other. Okay, next show. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're back at that again, but now it's with John and Oliver, and John and Oliver, like, I don't know.
But, yeah.
I read a snippet where Mark Guggenheim talks about how he didn't realize that it would be such a bad reaction. I mean, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing here of what the fans were going to, how they were going to react to this whole, Civil War divide that was going to happen. And they, because in comic books, they do it all the time and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, but in comic books, it's easier to switch from one book to the next. Every volume, you're able to just go ahead and rectify all the mistakes that were made. But when you're doing a TV show, there's so much more emotion involved, and people just relate to it differently than when they're reading a comic book. And so when Thursday aired, and I saw, as soon as that first punch was thrown, I was just like, are you kidding me?
Well, see,
I appreciated the punch.
I like the punch. Because I see, for me, the fight, it didn't, it was probably some of the best work I've seen out of as far as the two of them. I mean, the tension.
Yeah, and I don't deny.
Yeah, I mean, the tension was there, because, the prior week's episode, it was just, it had the, meh return. But I really enjoyed this week.
Will, you're killing me tonight. God.
And that's the thing, like, if you look at it from just a performance way, yeah, they did an amazing job, and it was a great episode. I mean, the acting was spot on. The emotion between the two of them was, it was heartbreaking as a where you were like, whoa, you were really into it. But I'm sorry, I am so tired of this everybody hate Oliver thing that it's just every episode. And I'm getting to the point where I'm just so sick and tired. Can we just move on now? Can we move on? Can we just go to the next thing now? Let's have some new bad guys. Let's talk about something different. Because
yeah, I was just gonna jump in there, like, and that's the crux of it, is that it's not that the team is divided, people are getting into fights, there's a civil war occurring right as Diaz is taking over Starling City. No, it's not all of that. It's at the root of it, all of the motivation we've seen play out before. And that's what pisses me off, is that like, we all know Oliver's a crappy leader. He has been since day one. He's a selfish playboy. We get it.
Yeah. And I mean,
he's acknowledged it even to Barry. Like whenever the crossover, he's like, Barry, you have to lead the team because I can't. I'm not that person.
Right. And and it's frustrating because this whole thing with John, like, oh, I've watched you grow as a man, as a husband, as a mayor, blah, blah, blah. I'm so proud of you for that. But you suck as a leader. Why couldn't you have said that to him, I don't know, maybe 2-3 seasons ago? Like,
and
why
Diggle encourages
it? Diggle's you're saying he's an enabler?
Yeah. Yeah, he is. And I don't know. So that part of the show, like, I mean, yes, the acting was amazing. It was like the whole time they were having that discussion up there on the platform and they were face to face and they were throwing those jabs at each other. I was glued to the TV. Like I was glued. And I was like, wow, this performance is so intense that how did they not feel emotion and be like, I'm going to cry now when it was over. But, it's still frustrating that we're still having to deal with this crap.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, we're so close to the end of the season. It's like, what are you guys going to do? What are we doing here? I mean, they're focusing too much, I feel, on the inner workings of the team and not what's actually happening within Star City, where we have a literal madman running the city. But let's focus on everybody hating each other and getting mad at Oliver.
Well, I think when I read the same article that you referenced, what Guggenheim talked about, being a comic book civil war and all that, and I think part of the problem is with this whole new Team Arrow, old Team Arrow split and fight, and the civil war between them is, and I see this happening some on the Flash as well with where they're introducing new characters. Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity are like core, and there's no way you're going to, there's not going to be that loyalty or that, build up of fandom that's going to take the other team's side. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
They haven't had that, that depth and, and it's the same thing, talk about Flash a little bit, people just, last year with Julian and this year with Ralph, it's the same kind of feelings. It's just like, stop trying to force these people on us. We don't like them. We just want our original 3 or original whatevers.
Right.
And move that story forward. And both are on point. That is the bigger issue with Diaz is being missed. And Diggle mentioned that even in that argument, it's like what they had. You're stretched too thin, and quite frankly, that's how the season feels. They're stretched very thin.
Yeah, and that's another point that bothered me in this episode is that, oh wait, so now Diggle's argument is that, oh, you're a mayor, you're a husband now, you're a father, and you have all of these other responsibilities. How can you actually be the hero that the city needs at the same time? And I'm like, oh my God, I do not want to go through another episode arc of Oliver being like, I have to be alone. Like, we've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
So
we don't
how many
need it
times?
anymore.
No, now I'm not going to believe you when you said, yes, I finally made peace that I have to have both sides. I'm like, no, next season you're going to fall apart again. I just know.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, we're already 6 seasons in, and I am sorry, but the character growth, it's like, just when we think we're getting it, all of a sudden it goes back to the way it used to be. And it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we backpedaling? And we should just keep continuing to further grow the characters so that they can become something solid, something that is a true superhero team, you know, rather than like this constant, you know, childish fighting. It's just, I'm just kind of exhausted from it now. Like, it's done. It's been overdone already for a while now. And, I miss the days of when the main focus of an episode was fighting the bad guy. I miss that a lot.
Right. I mean, it's a hard balance though when you have 23 episodes and you have to stretch it, and I feel like, despite my current complaints about the show, I haven't liked it since it came back from hiatus, but I still think this is one of their stronger seasons overall, and probably will finish strong. We just have to get to that point where things start to escalate and the stakes rise up for us to be like, yes, this is a show that I thought it was going to be way back in October, and it's delivering again. Because I do like what they're doing with Curtis right now. I like what they're doing with Dinah right now. Diaz and Black Siren kissed at the end of the episode. Nobody else should ever witness that. Like, disturbing. There are children watching.
I died laughing when I saw that. I was like, you know, and the thing was, is I was kind of expecting that to happen, because after I forget, it was a couple episodes ago where he tries to convince her and they're in that old rundown casino, and the way he was like all intimate with her, I was like, something's about to happen here. I was like, oh God. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, my friend Nicolette and I, we discuss the show pretty much daily, because there's always like some spoiler popping up, and between the two of us, you know, we'll find something and we're like, oh my God, and we talk about it. And, we're both at the point now where we're just kind of like, you know what? I think I'm just going to sit back now, and I'm just going to let it play out and just see what happens, because at this point, every episode is just mind-boggling.
You sound like me via season 4 of Arrow, where I built up, I jumped on every spoiler, I wrote the fan fiction, I had it all mapped out, and it went very wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'll recover. You'll bounce back quickly.
You know, and it's funny because they just had the Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, and a bunch of spoilers were dropped by David Ramsey. And I'm laughing because, you know, it's like everyone's getting really worked up about the spoilers that he drops.
What did he say?
But, one of them, he says that eventually they will resolve their issues, but it would be another 8 episodes. Well, that leads us into season 7. So I'm like, wait a second, what? And then about how Oliver, in the end, he literally is going to end up alone.
Oh yeah,
and so we're like, okay. So of course everyone's like, oh, he's going to end up in prison. That's how he's going to end up alone. You know, so there's lots of, you know, obviously lots of theories concerning what David has dropped, but
yeah. Well, I know Steven dropped one today. I guess an article I read where I was telling Sarah about this before we recorded, that basically they're going to a place where they can't return from, and Sarah can drop her I think spot on deduction on this one, which is
they're going to finally Oliver's going to come out as Green Arrow. Yeah, in all of Star City, and they can never undo that once it occurs.
Right.
And so part of that, like considering Diggle or David's spoiler, is maybe he does have to get a divorce from Felicity. Felicity gets William, I guess, in the custody.
I saw some traffic yesterday. Somebody was like thinking it was the opposite, that Felicity is actually pregnant.
Yeah, well, that's another.
I know. I'm just
what happened was. Yeah. Okay. So I guess somebody found something on Reddit talking about like the upcoming season. It was going to be announcing 2 pregnancies within the Arrowverse, and then another. And then I guess apparently at the con yesterday, and that Ricard's made a comment to a fan saying that she couldn't wear halter tops for some reason, but it turned out that the fan, she posted it on Twitter and everyone blew it out of proportion. Turned out later that it was simply that she was talking about herself, the actress, not the actual character. So yeah, so I don't know. I really, I'll be real honest with you. I'm unfortunately part of the unpopular opinion that I don't want to see Felicity pregnant. I'd rather wait for them to have announcement of pregnancy when like the show's gonna end. Like they're happily ever after. Like you're gonna be a dad and we're gonna end the show on this really good note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I was a writer and if I wanted to do a really interesting storyline with Felicity and where she is as a character, I would actually make her not be able to have kids as a result of something that happens out in the field, and Oliver and her having to reconcile that. I think it's just like deja vu all over again, Veronica, with this and what happened in season 4 when they put them together and made it official. The engagement occurred. And yet, because of Felicity's injury, she got a lot more story time.
Right.
And now it's very similar, where you get a lot of focus and attention, but then as soon as you become a couple, suddenly all of the angst is out the window, which, of course, because you're a couple, and that's why there was angst to begin with.
Right.
But I just... It's almost like these writers don't know what to do with people when they're together. They've done pretty good stuff over on The Flash, though, with Barry and Iris and them being officially together. So you kind of, they just need to figure out a way to really allow the marital stress to occur naturally. Because I don't want every episode to feature Felicity, and I don't really blame it as a result of the marriage so much as a result of having all of these other characters and having to have Thea have this random ass arc right in the middle of the season that made no sense to me. And and just all of this random stuff occurring in the background when I'm like, well, you got 3 main characters that you could really focus on, but you neglect 2 of them to hype up all of these other characters, and this is where we are.
Yeah, and with having them bring in so many characters, you're running out of, airtime to like talk about your 3 core characters, because I think if they had Felicity with her business, we could probably get some really cool intersecting storylines between Mayor Queen and Felicity Smoke, the business guru, and that could build up some angst that people are missing from them, before they got together. I don't know. I just feel like, because what does she do all day? Is she always stuck in the bunker? Like,
yeah.
It seems kind of a waste.
Yeah, it's like Iris West.
Well,
she's stuck in the bunker.
It doesn't even have to be her business, though. I still don't understand where very early on this season, there was a pivotal moment where Felicity was out on the field due to Kate and James, and she overridden something and left her virtual fingerprints, and that has not been pulled forward. And I don't know if Diaz is smart enough to really understand what Kaden had set up in that moment. And that's what pisses me off, when they have missed opportunities like that, where they could really put her in a precarious situation that involves Oliver and the Green Arrow to also be morally obligated or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there are so many little things that have happened already that they could really have played off of, and they don't. We've put so much focus on new Team Arrow, and I'm still, pretty pissed that they have destroyed, characters that could have been really great representation as far as a queer character, and 2 characters that are people of color. One of them a woman of color, and the fact that they chose to turn all 3 of them into these whiny babies just kind of aggravated. Right, like this last episode, I was kind of impressed with Dinah and Curtis's behavior.
Yeah.
And I almost kind of felt like it was because Renee wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
because he eggs them on.
True. Yeah. I mean, I liked how they handled Curtis and his new relationship, because it felt, very mature. After, as you said, there has been a lot of angst and wine factor with the new team, as far as well. I mean, we'll help both old and new team as far as how each other treat one another. So it was good to see these people have normal lives again. And just,
exactly.
And but also Curtis, wrestling with his decision, being a vigilante, and how his new partner was going to look at that, because of of the things that have been said about vigilantes and criminals, and Curtis was worried, like, okay, it's just going to kill us before we can even get started. But there's those kind of moments within the episodes that does help whenever you feel like you've been down this road before with certain story points and plot devices. With that's a good use of New Team Arrow to help carry their stories forward, as far as separate the day-to-day grind of crime fighting.
Right. And I like the way that they did it. And I wish that was something they could have done in the beginning when they first introduced the characters. Kind of slowly build them up, and not just like all of a sudden throw these new characters at us, be like, here you go, you're going to love them. And then when people finally start to connect with them, be like, okay, now we're not going to have you like them anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of, like, I like it in comic books, but I don't like it in the TV show. I'm not feeling it. I think that the way in season 1, the way that, they brought Helena, or the Huntress, when they brought her in, I think it was done really, really well. The way that eventually she turned and was like, goodbye, Oliver. With these new characters, if that was going to be the case, they could have just made the separation a little bit less of a, I hate you. No, I hate you. It was just, I don't know. But overall, like, the episode, I was really impressed with Steven and David. They did such an amazing job with that fight alone together. It was like, wow.
Yeah. All right. Now, before we get accused of being like a bunch of Star Wars fans talking about Last Jedi, how about we talk about Black Lightning?
That works.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what has happened in the last 2 weeks, but I watched the last 2 episodes of Black Lightning today, and I was, I don't know if I was confused. I was just like, oh. Oh. Okay. I don't know. It was very interesting to have like this 2-part episode. It's almost like, because they both complement one another very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To where we discover the bodies, or not the bodies, but the
Pods.
vessels, the pods.
Yeah.
I don't know what the kids call it these days. Which leads to us being informed that the vice principal is actually involved with the ASA.
Yep.
And
she's their spotter.
She's their spotter.
Spotter. Yeah,
I don't know why I went British.
That's what they call her. Their spotter. It's what
I did
Dan
watch the
used to
episode,
do.
Veronica. I understand it. and then she spots Jefferson now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, she's been spotting him since day one, but
Yes. She has.
She does wear like the most fanciest clothes to a high school.
Yeah.
Like I was noticing that. I'm like, that blue dress looks like something you would wear to like a banquet. Why are you here? I don't understand.
Yeah.
My vice principal didn't wear that.
Probably couldn't have afforded it either. I mean, seriously, how much money does she get paid?
Yeah.
It's like a designer gown, and this is what this whole segment's going to be about.
Black Lightning fashion.
Yeah, all right. Will, why don't you get us back on track? What did you think about these 2 episodes?
So this season 1 for Black Lightning has been consistently strong throughout. It has come out of the gate, even when they have their lull moments, it's still better than some of the other shows on the CW right now.
Oh yeah.
I think, the episode this past week with him getting arrested, it's one of those things where, in story it takes place, you see Jefferson like, okay, everybody don't overreact, because don't give them a reason to bring the tanks in. But again, but also what this show has done is takes the real world events and places them in the comic book world, and they seamlessly work together with the issues of police misconduct and how Jefferson's treated when he goes to to lock up, and and just he's a very prideful man, and and whenever he's having to basically be stripped of all, literally, of that, and the humiliation that he felt, Cress Williams just did a tremendous job playing that, and
he did,
and you felt that, you just felt like, I mean, I was just like sitting there watching that, just cringing for Jefferson going through that whole experience. But also, going back to the episode prior to that with the detective working with Black Lightning to do that undercover, not undercover work, but this casing out these corrupt cops, and how that carried forward to the next episode with them bringing down those corrupt cops, and then he basically becomes second in command of the police force. Again,
right.
It just worked. It's just a very good organic growth of just how the season has really built up these characters in a very strong way that it's just, again, very refreshing. And probably about 2 or 3 years from now, I'll be making the same kind of grumbling comments I do about The Flash and other shows, but but right now it's like this is just some good fresh stuff on TV, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way that they handled the conflict between Jefferson and Gamby. You know,
I haven't touched on that yet.
It worked well. You know, it flowed really easily. And I was impressed with, you know, how he was able to forgive him at the end of, you know, this last episode. And okay, so, you know, you're back in his family, like, and it all because his daughter was like, wait, you know, you got to stop a second and you think about it. And, you know, the show overall, every little, incident or, you know, conflict that happens, I'm always impressed at how well it flows with the rest of the episode. It's one really cohesive piece of work that, whereas in other shows I've seen, it's, you kind of like, wait a second, weren't we just talking about this? Or weren't we just, you know, and it makes it very easy to watch. And like you said, it's refreshing because there's just, whoever's doing the writing, they're very consistent. Mm-hmm. They're not losing track of where the characters were, you know, 3 minutes ago in the last scene or whatever it was. And as far as like the discovery of the pod people, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. Pod people.
Yeah. The green light kids.
Mm-hmm. You know, I thought that was kind of funny, I guess. I don't know, because I guess we're still kind of learning, you know, with this, what is it called, the ASA?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess we're still kind of learning what they're about and what they're trying to do, but I'm assuming that it's like what they did with, like, you know, in X-Men when they were trying to get rid of like all the mutants. So I figured this is their version of it where they're trying to figure out, you know, who's got superpowers and let's get rid of them all. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what.
I don't know if they're trying to get rid of them all because they put them in the pods and they're very upset that some of the pods are dying.
Yeah, I think
that's a weird phrase. Well, so it's not. I wouldn't. So I guess a good X-Men comparison is with the show The Gifted that aired earlier this year. And they had this occurred where a lot of the mutants were being captured, but they were also then being manipulated to use their powers to help capture other mutants. Right. So I feel as if the whole point of securing these individuals is to learn about their powers and then obtain more information for science, to put it simply. There's some very mysterious motives going on. And it's, I think what's bothering me or what's making me disoriented sometimes with this show, even though I do agree that it's having a very strong freshman season, is that to really dive into this whole ASA mystery, which is very much like a 1960s political thriller type of idea with it, and juxtaposed with what the heck is going on with Lala. She's a green light. And to have all the voodoo and all of the ghosts and everything and the crucifixing and the religion, and I'm just like, make up your mind on what show you want to be. Both storylines are, I can see how they overlap, but the subtext in each is so different on opposite ends of the spectrum that I'm not quite sold that they work well together, especially when they were featured in this past episode significantly at the same time. Before, I felt like it was one episode about the ASA, one episode about Lala, and vice versa. But this one had both of those storylines playing out throughout, and I don't know if that really worked well with me.
Fair point.
Right.
Fair.
No, I totally understand that. Yeah. I mean, I guess I forget about Lala because I
She's crazy.
focus more on yeah. I'm focusing more, I guess, on the daughters. Like that's where my big focus is watching them, learn about what they can do. Of course, the youngest, oh God, her name slips in my mind right
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, yes. Watching
Jennifer doesn't
her
want to
as
learn.
yeah, as a young girl, really trying. I mean, oh my gosh, she's what, 16 years old? Like 16 is a hard age to be, and then all of a sudden, on top of all your regular crap in high school you deal with, now you have to deal with finding out you have superpowers. Like, whoa.
I don't know. There's something about what at first I liked it. I liked how she was very against the powers and it was used to show differences between her and her sister. At the same time, the more they drag this on, I'm just like, girl, you have a great life. Why are you acting like you're so it's the end of the world all the time? And I understand you're 16 and 16-year-olds are like that, especially girls because we're so hormonal, but it's just, I don't know. I just want her to
Embrace
either
it.
I don't even necessarily want her to embrace her. I just want her to stop acting so mopey about life and everything. And just be like, you have a great dad, you have a good sister, you have a great mom, you have food on the table. Like, there's a lot worse things than finding out, oh, you have superpowers and you have to actually help people. I'm so sorry.
I'm kind of like, I was wondering if maybe we're going to get to a point where we're going to address depression because a lot of her behaviors are very common, as symptoms or I guess triggers of depression in the way that she's acting. She can be rebellious with the smoking weed and drinking at school, sneaking off to go to nightclubs on her own, and then she has this real high, like her manic episodes, and then all of a sudden she's real low where she just wants to lay in bed or sit on the sofa. And so I'm wondering if not maybe that's going to be something they're going to maybe kind of touch on a little bit about depression and, what she starts to go through.
That's a good point. And they would not be out of character for the shit.
Yeah. And I think, with, Lala, as far as that's concerned, I'm kind of really curious as to how they're going to explain all that to us. Because, I mean, they killed Lady Eve so quickly that I thought maybe like somehow like she was going to be a part of explaining to us about Lala, but then they killed her and now he's just kind of running amok. Anybody not realize, like, other than his little crew of people, like, he's back from the dead?
Yeah. Unless unless the ASA is like, part of their experiments is in reanimation. I don't know. Maybe that's how that's how they could be interrelated. And, because especially, we learned early on Tobias had some, through the ASA was able to, essentially tap into the fountain of youth. So
yeah, right?
Maybe this, maybe we'll get our explanation as far as what's going on with Lala. Maybe it's not supernatural. Maybe it's just, it's just green light drug that's allowing him to be reanimated some more.
Yeah. Well, because, when Gamby talked about how he was finding these kids when, I guess in the 60s when he was doing it, and he found out that they were being killed. So that's what made him decide to like change his ways and protect Jefferson. Now I'm wondering, like, what are they doing with these kids now? They're putting them in these pods and whatever they're doing, it's killing them. Are they getting ready to create some sort of super army? I mean, but guess that's the fun of all of it, is being able to be like, oh God, what does that mean? What are we going to see next episode? When are we going to learn about it? But I'm enjoying the weirdness.
Yeah.
I don't know what other word, lack of a better word, but it's fun to me. I'm enjoying it, and I like the dynamics amongst the characters. And like you pointed out, Will, the episode or this last episode where Jefferson is having to go through the whole process of being booked.
Yeah.
That was just intense, and I was really happy that they did show it, because not that I have ever, I've never been put in jail before. But I have been arrested, and it's a very dehumanizing experience when you have cops who just immediately want to peg you as a criminal without really knowing the truth behind what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they portrayed that experience, and it really was, heart-wrenching. And then for any Black man who has ever had to go through that process, I can tell you that was triggering, because the way that they would throw him up against the wall for no reason at all, the way that they talk down to you, all of that stuff, it's exactly what happened. And I do know that the executive producer, he talks about how a lot of the experiences are his own personal experiences, like in the very first episode when he gets pulled over by the cop because he looked like somebody. So I'm glad that they're touching on a lot of these current events that are happening in our society, and it's really cool that they're integrating that into a comic book story, because let's face it, comic books for years have been using that. And unless you're a comic book fan, you didn't know that was happening. Yep. So I personally am loving Black Lightning so much that even when they have weird stuff like Lala, I still enjoy it.
It's definitely appointment TV for me during the week as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, is that it? Are we done?
I think no. I don't really have much more to say about it other than just to pick on Veronica's point. You didn't see that happen in the Barry Allen. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
It definitely, it was very poignant, the difference, even though we've had 3 heroes in the DC Arrowverse arrested this season and this year. What they did in Black Lightning was the most profound take on it, and everything that not only he experiences, but also the powerlessness that Jennifer felt, that Anissa felt, that Lynn even felt when she tried to get him out. That was really fascinating to see. And you know what? They have, not to boast or anything, they did have a self-driving van. So I think shout out to Gamby.
Oh, yeah.
Self-driving van. Really proud of it.
Yeah.
Really proud. I mean, I've seen the hologram trick before. They did that in the Flash. But I don't think Cisco has made a self-driving van yet. So congratulations, Gamby.
Yep.
He was very proud of it too. He even pointed it out in the show.
That's why I had to bring it up.
It's funny because I watch all of these shows with my mom. And my mom is one of those people that she will sit down and watch anything. If it's entertaining, she'll watch it. And she's always loved sci-fi because of all their crazy weird movies, right? So I have her watching all these shows now, and she gets a kick out of them. She gets a little emotionally involved in Arrow. She actually said that she wanted to throw her chocolate at Diggle for punching Oliver. But for her, she is, I think, the most moved when she watches Black Lightning. Mm-hmm. Because as a Mexican family, we know what it's like. We know what we're dealing with in our city, and how since we live on the border, we experience a lot of hate. And so she enjoys that show in a different way from when we watch like Legends of Tomorrow, and she laughs her butt off. She thinks it's so funny. But Black Lightning definitely sticks out for her the most because you watch her when she's watching the show and she's quiet, straight faced. But then when she watches all the other shows, she's more, she's laughing or she's making comments. But Black Lightning, she like is quiet and she just wants to focus.
Yeah.
So that's how I know that this show is doing something right.
and you can tell her that Black Lightning and all the Arrowverse shows are coming back.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I did.
Yep. All right. So Veronica, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you?
The best place to find me is Twitter. I am known as Nerdy Chicana on Twitter, but you can find me at Femdelchuco. FEMMEDELCHUCO.
Thanks, Veronica, for joining us tonight. We're going to take a short break and be back to talk Krypton and a few other shows.
Thanks,
what Will
guys.
said, I said. What Will said, I said. Yeah. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Rising from the depths of a state called Michigan, two inebriated dorks prepare their plan for intergalactic domination. Mixing their extensive knowledge of geek culture with their insatiable thirst for alcohol, these two man-children bring you a show like you've never heard before. They will tell you tales from faraway lands and have you questioning their taste in beer. But make no mistake, friend, for the best coverage of your favorite comics, films, and TV shows, there's no better source for you to get your fix. So listen up, strap in, and prepare yourself as Jake and Tom conquer the world.
All right, well, let's talk about Krypton.
Let's talk about it.
This show has a lot of momentum right now, and I'm really digging it. I really like it. I have one complaint, though.
What's that?
I don't like when shows give you their main love story and it's already happened. So right now with Lyta and Seg, we're watching them and we know that there's a lot of history, but I don't feel the romantic tension. Like, I know I'm supposed to, but I mainly just view them as like childhood friends who are now on opposite sides of the war.
Fair point. I feel like, to me, I feel like that it is, the well-worn Romeo and Juliet trope. I think that I totally see where you're coming from on the childhood friends who end up on the wrong side of whatever faction, but
right. Guild.
Yeah, guilds in this case. Yeah. What I do like about the show overall, it's just out of the gate we just have very strong characters across the board. Which is very refreshing. I think with two of our recent shows that we've added to our rotation, where we've had very strong characters, and not only across the board, but also very strong female characters, is both Krypton and also Black Lightning, which we've talked about. But the women in Krypton in particular, between Lyta and General Zod, her mother, are just carries the day, especially the episode 2 at House of L.
Yeah.
The between the challenge at the end, just the dynamics of this is a fight to the death. Her mother just again the Call of Duty, much like we saw in Black Panther 2 with the general okay.
That's a good comparison. Good job.
Yeah, we're just seeing a very, very strong slate of characters lately, which is very refreshing as a viewer, and it makes for some great storytelling as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really do like what they're doing with Lyda. I think they're making a lot of good choices. And, I mean, just putting her in the House of Zod to begin with, as well as making that the military guild, and seeing how she's just like Seg in a way, who is struggling to uphold this legacy that she didn't want or really desire. It's just, it's her birthright, and trying to grapple with that. So I like all of that. I think it's smart what they did in this recent episode with the Rankless Initiative, and how she's realized that she got what she wanted, and that there are immediate consequences to that are going to play out in not only this past episode, but in probably future episodes as well. You also didn't mention one other female character who's really interesting in the show. Missa.
Yes, I was saving her for you.
Like, that girl, I cannot get a good read on her. Like, I understand she's bad, but there's something about her where I'm just like, you are going to be a really interesting villain in future seasons. Like, I feel like they're saving her almost like for a later storyline, and there's something like that mystery part of her that I find really appealing and engaging, because I almost feel like she's lost someone due to her father and his politics, and she wants vengeance on her dad just as much as Seg does, in a way. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, she's definitely playing both sides of the fence, because, she also had that very compassionate moment with Seg, and bringing the ashes so that his parents could have a proper burial. So I think she's a very opportunistic character, and clearly, and you're right. I think as the season progresses, and as Seg and gains notoriety and gains the almost, I guess, for lack of a better word, builds a resistance to the leadership guild. She may end up going to whichever side is hot at the time.
Right. And I mean, on the opposite side, when you're talking about strong characters, I felt like in this episode in particular, episode 3, that it's not even just the characters alone, but their dynamics. I really like what they're doing between Seg and Adam Strange. Yeah. Those two, like, I felt like, oh, he's a foreigner and coming from a different land. Adam is this. Okay, this is going to be an interesting comparison for me of all people to say, but Adam Strange reminds me of Ray Palmer, but a likable version of Ray Palmer.
The 2 weeks have mellowed you out, so 2 weeks off have.
I don't know, it just came to me and I felt like it was the right thing to say, and so I reserved a right to take it back in future seasons, but right now there's just this charisma. I think at one point in this episode he said, like, oh, we're gonna do superhero stuff. Like, he likes this. Like, he's so proud of him and everything he's done, and he's like, this is his hero's flight, but there's such a charm and an innocence about it. Like, I don't know how to articulate it right now, but it's very like a child who grows up always wanting to be be this hero, and so he dresses up in the clothes, and there's still that youthfulness about it. Like, I feel like that's what Adam Strange is.
He really is. He is definitely the wide-eyed, this is gee whiz, this is so cool kind of thing. I liked how SAG, though, it was a gradual growing of trust between them. And it is, it wasn't automatically, hey, this is my buddy and all that. There's still, it's a growing relationship, and we as an audience get to grow with it. And
especially with the SAG's best friend in the rankless, I mean. Mm-hmm. Talk about growing trust. Like, his best friend, I think, still doesn't trust Adam, and that's going to cause issues in the future.
Definitely. But another thing, what I like about this show and what's so fresh about it is, and we talked about this with the pilot, and now since we're 3 episodes in, you can really see the fact that, yes, Superman is over here, is the big shadow over everything, but I don't feel that way. They've done a very good job of, with yes, this is the backstory and the prequel of what we have grown to know of Kal-El, but they've done a good job of not letting that overshadow the story, and we're really getting to see this world be built of Krypton and Kandor in particular, getting built before us as viewers, and they are unfolding its story in a way that can open up many, many possibilities, to where, they're not necessarily locked into what we know. And I think they've done a very good job of studying other programs that have developed prequels and saw the pitfalls that they made and locking themselves in story-wise, because you have this vast canon that you're trying not to violate. But here they're doing it in a way that, yes, we know Adam Strange is back in time to help save what we know as Superman today, but at the same time, it is being very free to tell a story and not let that overshadow the events.
Right, because
yeah, go ahead.
You're absolutely spot on with that, and it really stands out specifically in episode 3, because the episode is about the Black Order, which is a fresh concept, and really is an allegory for what is happening in today's world. Oh, yes. And this idea that we're going into places and trying to weed out people who we believe are terrorists, and killing innocents along the way, and not really understanding the difference between the two. And I think, that's a very Battlestar Galactica type of thing to do, is to take that analogy and put it in the forefront when you have all of the comic books and all of the space opera surrounding it, but the viewer doesn't pay attention to that because the viewer is connected to the story. Yep. And then on top of that, I mean, the only thing that felt very Superman-y in this episode, but in the most best way, was Brainiac. This is the first time Brainiac is here. He has a parasite that takes over this individual, Rom, who's a friend of SAG, and you see the power, the brutality of it, and the threat without actually seeing Brainiac. And I thought it was very, very good to do early on in the season, because we know that the final showdown is far off in the future.
Yeah, yep, it is. But yeah, I think if folks haven't watched this show, we have our 3 episode or 4 episode rule where it's okay, we kind of make or break, and we're at that make or break point as far as our viewership, and it's definitely made it into my weekly rotation.
Yeah. You wanna switch gears and talk about another show that we haven't talked about in a while, but has made its way in my rotation?
Sure.
The Resident.
It did not make it into mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not that I didn't like it. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just, I think as far as yours right now is The Resident, mine's Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. No, with The Resident, like it's in my rotation so much as I know when it's on. I don't generally look forward to watching it or anything, but they did something in their most recent episode that aired a few weeks ago. They're on a mini hiatus right now. Okay. That was it's very interesting. Going into that show, you think you know who the villain is, which the doctor is the villain, but there's another villain that they've created who does the most disturbing thing I've ever seen, probably on a medical drama.
I saw a lot of buzz on social media. Please enlighten me, because I'm totally fine with being spoiled.
Okay, so spoiler alert. So do you remember the woman doctor? I forget her name, but she treats all of the cancer patients, right?
Yes.
And she goes at it with Emily Van Camp's character.
Right.
And removes her. So that's been brewing in the background. And then in this episode, there's one cancer patient that I think we met back in episode 3, and I believe her name was Lily.
Yes, I remember her.
So, basically, the lady doctor is alone, feels like Emily Van Camp's character calls up a friend and a colleague, another doctor who specializes in chemotherapy and everything, and gets Lily assigned to her because there's been a lot of bizarre behavior occurring. The doctor gets wind of this, and then the episode ends with the doctor giving Emily's character orders to give Lily potassium before she leaves. And she does.
Wow.
Well, that potassium kills her, which the doctor knew it would.
Wow.
And so you're left with the resident, the main guy coming in and doing breaking down because she's just flatlining and he can't do anything. And you know that they're going to throw Emily Van Camp's character right under the bus for this because she probably wrote something else in the chart.
Right.
She wasn't actually there and all of this stuff. And you're just like, oh my God, that is the most sick thing I've ever seen anyone do. Like, that's insane.
That's nuts. Wow.
Yeah.
No, wow. Yeah. Like I said, I saw the buzz about it, and I saw it was a major ethical issue and other adjectives as well. And wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to tune back in when they come up with a hiatus.
Yeah, I don't know. It took me aback, and I'm just like, they went there. I mean, you knew it early on that they were going to test some of the ethical stuff, but I never expected I would see something like that. I was like, oh my God, that's murder. Murder.
Yeah. Wow.
Murder.
Yeah. Well, as far as my new rotation show, Atlanta, it's second season, and this past week's episode was amazingly weird and brilliant. I was sitting.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so Ern had to go. He was finding this piano from this eccentric musician named Teddy Perkins. In the city, and so he goes to this house, and he meets Teddy Perkins, who is dressed. He is basically a Michael Jackson clone, and with the bleached skin, the hair, and it was, and actually, I mean, it was truly Donald Glover, like truly burying himself in a park because that's what was playing Teddy. And it was this weird, that plays on the whole stories of the Jackson family and Teddy having the same kind of parallels with the abusive father and the he ends up in this place. He goes up to the attic and
I'm so scared right now.
Yeah.
Continue.
I was thinking when I was watching, I was like, I don't know if Sarah would like this or not. Because I got kind of creeped out, too, the way this episode was going.
I am so scared. I want to know what's in the attic, though.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Yeah, so it was another character who looked a lot like Prince. And I don't want to give too much away, but if our folks haven't seen it yet, but the ending was definitely a what the fuck moment. Where I was just like, oh my God, what did I just see here? So yeah, go check it out, Sarah. Make sure you have, maybe watch it during the daytime, see before you go to bed, so it's not before you go to bed, you won't be able to sleep. But yeah, this whole season has been just amazing. It's definitely one of the most creative shows on television right now.
It's like, okay. First of all, I still don't really understand what was in the attic that left you so disturbed, although I'm very curious.
It was the process of going to the attic that was like, and even with, the piano there, it's just like elements of like Stephen King meets,
This is, okay.
Yeah.
So here we go, Will. This should not surprise you at all, considering what happened with me in the movie It.
Mm-hmm.
But my recent obsession right now is learning more information about the movie A Quiet Place that just came out this weekend.
I want to see that.
Yeah. Well, you might, considering how the attic got you freaked out and gave you all of Stephen King vibes, I think that you might want to stay away from A Quiet Place because from what I understand, it's horrifying, especially if you have kids. Because that's really what the story is about. It's about what the extremes parents go to protect their children. And I think why people are walking away from this movie specifically horrified is because the use of silence.
Yeah.
Like we've all been seeing jump scares in movies. Like it gets really, really quiet and the next thing you know, the volume goes up and everything. But in this movie, the whole atmosphere is quiet because you have things hunting you if you make a freaking sound.
Well, I saw the premise and everything, and like I said, it definitely piqued my interest. There's like this, and I'm still on the fence about Ready Player One, but I still want to see A Quiet Place.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by it because horror movies, it can always go one of two ways. It can either be really profound and brilliant and disturbing all at the same time, or it can be just really get you freaked out, but in the long run, it's a stupid story and you forget about it like a year later if you're me.
Yeah.
But still, I'm really intrigued by this. I also like what I'm hearing about how it could be potentially nominated for Best Sound Design.
Oh, there you go. See.
And sound editing for everything that they do. And I think that there's a twist ending. I'm not sure, but I feel like from what I see and what I hear, there's something at the end that leaves you like, that's not where I thought that this was going to go, and I'm pleasantly surprised. That's like, very Stephen King-esque.
Cool. Well, yeah, I may have to report back to you on this one if I do go see it. And if I have nightmares, I'll only have myself to blame.
From what I've seen people say is that they left the movie, and anytime. So, okay, John Krasinski, who directed the movie, told the story about how a friend of him got out of the movie. They went into the car, and the person they were with turned on the radio, and they immediately shut it off and was like, "What are you doing?" So I'm like, yeah, that's an effective movie.
That is an effective movie.
Oh, man. Speaking about updating, how far are you in Billions?
I started it, and I was at my parents over Easter break, and so they had Showtime, so I was able to watch a little, maybe 3 episodes of the first season, but I need to update my Amazon subscription so I can download it. But it's definitely going to be. I think I'm gonna do like I did with Mr. Robot this summer. I think I'm just gonna pick a week or so and just binge through it to get caught up.
It's okay. I still don't even know if you're gonna like it. I'm still on the fence, but I will be curious about your thoughts.
All right. Well, I will definitely share the full.
Hold on. I'm Panda GIFing right now. Just a second, sir.
Yeah.
You can't rush this, okay? Okay. I know you're overtired, but please.
No.
Give a woman.
I've got my second win here. I see the tip there.
All right. Well, that is it for us tonight. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk. That's WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJBelmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, but most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on both iTunes and SoundCloud. And you can find us on the iHeart Radio app. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.